And welcome back, everybody. We're going to go through a Snapseed tutorial today in order to get a color photograph not just into black and white, but also cropped in a little bit. Just a general overview and tutorial of how to use a few things. So I'm going to open up the Snapseed app. Of course, you could always drag down on your iPad and just begin to search for it. There it is right there. You probably saw it in my dock. This is kind of what you see when you first open up the app. I will go ahead and click open in the upper left hand corner over here, and I'm going to open from my device. I'm going to go to my photos and find the one that I want to work with. I kind of have already figured that out. I'm just going to grab this cupcake because, well, snack time is never a bad time. But I want to start by getting this into black and white. And I could have done this in the Photos app. Right, I could have come through here and done that and just gone to the same photograph and clicked on edit. But that's not as sophisticated as I maybe could get in something else. And since Snapseed is free, I'm going to go ahead and grab that. To begin with, I'm going to click on Tools in the middle of the bottom menu bar down here, and I see all kinds of options. You can try out different things. I would probably avoid the one that just says black and white for the same reason I would not edit my photos in the Photos app on the iPad or iPhone. I'm going to go to Tune Image, which is the first one up here, and that's going to allow me to do a couple of things. Now, just in terms of general user interface, if I put my finger on the screen, and this goes for any sort of mobile device, moving my finger up and down will give me certain options, right? You can see brightness, contrast, saturation, etc., etc. And then once I click one of those, we'll just keep it on brightness at first. If I put my finger on the screen and I move left or right, you'll see not just a change in the photograph, but along the top of the screen, a blue bar indicating how far you've gone one way or the other. To accept that, you click on the check mark in the bottom right. This is not great, so I'm going to click on the X on the bottom left to get out of that. I do want to go ahead and use this, go back to an image and use this. I'm going to come down to saturation and take it all the way down. That gives me a black and white image, a grayscale image. But you know what I don't really want this. There are some benefits to it, but it's not great at the same time. It gets rid of the color, but it shows me where I could find some other things that might be improved upon. So I will come up to contrast, and I'm gonna boost that contrast a little bit. That's already getting a little bit better. I don't want to blow out the highlights and eliminate any sort of texture or anything there, information. But I don't want to do the same thing on the dark areas as well. So let me come down here to my shadows. I'm going to bring those up just a touch. You can see plus 15 at the top of the screen. Highlights. I could go darker. I think leaving those be, won't be too bad. Bringing up the brightness just a touch. Now I'm going to go ahead and click the check mark in the bottom right. But before I do that, if I want to kind of see the difference, I can click this little open book kind of thing in the upper right. Doesn't do much for me. So I'm going to click that. Next, what I'm going to do is go back to Tools, and I'm going to grab what is called Selective, which is on the top row, 5 over from the right. It's just a circle with a dot in the middle of it. And what that allows me to do is to add like certain accent points to different areas. So I'm just going to touch in here. I got a B there. B stands for brightness. I could bring that way up. And what that does is it kind of gives me a circle of area that comes out. And I don't want much. I'm just going to, just a touch. I could also deal with contrast or saturation in those points. If I click on the add or the plus sign at the bottom, I'm going to come down here in the bottom right corner and just bring that up just a touch as well. And if I touch on the image, you'll see a before, lift up my thumb or my finger, and an after. Before and after, before and after. Even before I do anything else. And I'm gonna actually bring that down. I don't want much of a change, just a little bit. Go ahead and click on the check mark. Now for my individual purposes for this, I want this to be the same proportions as an 8 by 10 image. So clicking on tools, I'm going to go to crop, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth from the left on the top row, the little crossbars there. And I'm going to click on 5 by 4. It's already there. Here's the original, very similar. You can go and do all kinds of different things. I'm going to go 5 by 4 or 4 by 5, depending on the original part of your image. And then as in most other places, I can just drag the corners. I can move this around in different ways. So I'm trying to look for good composition here. I don't want anything right on the edge that's like really light or really dark or a rounded curve. So in the bottom right, that's going to get a little tricky there. I kind of like the idea of including some things in the bottom right, so I have something in the foreground, I have the main focal point in the midground, and then I have something in the background that's kind of blurry and out of focus. But I don't want too much of the background. And if I came way out here, that upper right-hand corner is just, it's kind of boring when I think about this being turned into a drawing. So I'm going to kind of pay attention to where everything is. Something around like this is going to work. And I can click on the check mark, kind of zoom in and see what's going on. There's the original, there's mine, the original, and mine, just tapping on the screen. And for these purposes, that will work. I've got something with really bright, light areas, very dark areas, but information still in both. Plenty of midtones and values throughout, a composition that will work, and I'm fairly happy with. So next I'm going to click to export, and it gives me 3 options here. I always click on the one that's right in the middle where it says save a copy, and that means that I'm not going to lose my original. I haven't actually changed my original, so I still have that, and I can go back and I can make changes. There are other options that you could do, but that is good enough for these purposes. And then if I go into the photo app and I come down here to the bottom, now I can see the photograph that I will then start working with. And that's how I'm going to use the Snapseed app to convert to black and white and to crop into the specific proportions that I need. So work with that, test it out. It is a free app, and as always, have fun.